Welcome to the Law Life Podcast. In honor of CA Bar Style's 15-year anniversary, I cannot even believe I'm saying that, we are bringing on some of our most favorite past applicants. And today we have Sara Truitt. Hey, Sara, how's it going?
It's going well. Congratulations on 15 years.
Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to come out and talk about your journey. So where did you grow up? And what inspired you, and where in that childhood somewhere inspired you to become an attorney?
So I grew up in Riverside, California. And, it's tough to say. I didn't have any lawyers in my family. If I go way back into my childhood, it's kind of funny. The only thing I really remember law-wise from my childhood is the movie Liar, Liar.
Oh my gosh, yes. Jim Carrey. I love that movie.
I love that movie, and I used to watch it on repeat. Even in high school, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do, but really when I got to college and I took political science courses, that's when I really got into law. And I thought, I like this. Maybe I should go to law school. And even after college...
Where'd you go to college?
I was an undergrad at UC Riverside. I didn't go to law school right away after undergrad. I was law school when I was 28.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's talk about that. So you graduate UC Riverside, and then why that? What did you do during that time?
During that time, I graduated with my degree in political science, and then I ended up going back for another, I think, year and a half, and double majored. I got my French degree.
Okay.
So I was doing that, and then I started working for my dad's company. He's a builder. He does.
Oh, very cool.
But I couldn't get law out of my mind.
Was there so I was a poli-sci major. So obviously when you're studying political science, you study a lot of things that you could become passionate about. What was there like a political movement or history or something that you just were attracted to? Like for me, women's rights, which I know we're going to get some but that was my minor in undergrad. And at the time, I mean, I still am, but at the time I was like this big feminist, and I had a lot to say, and that's what obviously was a big part of a lot of things that I did legally. But so did you have like anything where you connected in your undergrad major to that?
I really loved my environmental political science classes. I did my thesis in environmental law, my senior thesis. And, I didn't go that route in law school, but that was what really drew me in. I loved environmental law. I remember specifically there was a class about trash and how distribution of waste affects the environment and the politics behind that. And that was part of my senior thesis. I really loved that.
Environmental law aspect, which is such a big area, a niche, but it's a, growing area of law. Okay. So you decide you want to go to law school. You're 27, 28. So it's a little above average of the average law student age, but I've dealt with applicants in all age ranges. So it's never too late to pursue your dreams. I am a big believer of that. But did you go through like a 3-year program, a day program? Were you working at the same time?
Right. So I started studying for the LSAT. Actually, I was so serious about it. I was on a cruise with my family, paying $400 for Wi-Fi so I could study for the LSAT on a cruise. And I think that's when everybody realized I was serious about this. I ended up doing pretty well on the LSAT and got a 90% scholarship to Western State.
Wow.
In Irvine.
90%. So 90% of your tuition was covered.
Of tuition, yeah. Not living, but 90% of tuition was covered.
All 3 years?
Well, so I transferred to my first year.
Okay, so we've got to back it up. Okay, so you get the 90% scholarship, which is amazing. Amazing. And then you think that was because of your high LSAT score?
Yes, I know. They told me it was.
And then you go through the first year at Western State. Okay, what was that first year like for you?
It was a lot of work, but really fun. I really love the people that I met that year. And I was sad to leave because I knew I wouldn't be as close, and you're going to lose those connections that you make during your first year. You're in the trenches together.
Yeah.
But I'm still friends with some of them. I had a call with one of my friends last week about a legal issue, and we still keep in touch. But I knew I wanted to transfer to Loyola.
Actually, this hasn't been brought up on the podcast yet, transferring during law school. So did you have that goal from the beginning?
I knew I wanted to transfer. I knew going into it that I wanted to transfer. So I was working on the transfer process throughout my entire first year. And it's tough. It's a whole new round of applications on top of the work that you're doing first year.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wanted to stay in Southern California, and my choices came down to Loyola or Pepperdine.
Mm-hmm.
And Loyola offered me more money. So I went to Loyola. I also love Loyola.
You got another scholarship for Loyola.
I did, but no, it wasn't as much.
But really amazing. Really, be so proud of yourself, because that's not the norm, that law students are getting scholarships to the school. So that's really great. So obviously your grades were very good. What would you say the biggest difference between the two law schools were?
The biggest difference between Loyola and Western State.
Was Loyola, I feel like maybe would be more competitive.
It definitely felt more competitive. It was just bigger. I felt like the small fish.
So you go through Loyola, and my dad went there, great school. So you're at Loyola, and what was the rest of your law school experience like?
So I did join the Entertainment Law Review. I also did moot court.
What are you practicing now?
I'm civil trial attorney. We do a lot of real estate, a little bit of PI, and I would say about half of my practice is trust and probate litigation.
Oh, very cool. You're in court a lot.
I'm in court a lot.
Do you feel like any part of law school really helped prepare you for the practice of law?
That's a good question. I feel like most of law school was teaching you how to think, how to research, how to write, how to read a case. And that is very important for civil litigation. But I think when you get into practice, it's learn on the go. I think there were programs that I could have participated in law school that would have helped me prepare for this, but I didn't know this was where I was going to end up. I thought I wanted to do criminal appeals.
Isn't that so interesting? We all have this notion. I mean, I thought I was going to be this big fancy divorce attorney, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, where it was like I had 1 or 2 cases of divorce law, and I was like, I'll never do this again. This is not for me at all. So, for the listeners and those just starting out in your journey, just know that you may think that you're going to practice in a certain area, but you may not actually practice in that area. And that's okay. And you can try and find an internship during law school, which some applicants or some law students do, but it doesn't always work that way. And you may not always get the position in the area of law that you're looking for. So you can't dabble until after graduation. And then you have that exposure and you're like, until you actually make it tangible and carry out that area of law, it's really hard to predict that you're for sure going to want to practice in that and have the passion to do so. So, okay, you go through Loyola, you are in some groups. I mean, so it sounds like pretty smooth sailing. Like for the most part, law school went quite well for you.
Yeah. I found it at Loyola, at least, it was really difficult. My grades weren't as good as they were my first year. I feel like the things that prepared me the most for practice were the internships and the clerkships and the things like that you do in your first summer and second summer.
Right.
Those I felt showed me what it's really like to practice law.
Because you were getting that hands-on experience.
Yeah.
And, we had a great attorney, Marina Fragan, on a couple months ago. She's a very prominent employment attorney. She talks about the need for mentors. And it was so moving because it's so hard to find mentors nowadays, I feel like, for law students. And I'm not really sure why. Well, why do you think that is? Any insight there?
I was very fortunate in that I found a mentor, and I've talked about
in who someone you work for.
The managing attorney at the firm I work for now. His name's Dan Tripathi, and he really took me under his wing during COVID, and he was just a really good mentor,
showing you the rope.
Showing me the ropes. I did a couple trials in my first year of practice with him, and I just felt like I was given a lot of opportunity, and he was really there to help me. And I'm very grateful for that. And I've talked about this with him, that maybe there needs to be some kind of like a residency requirement like they do in medicine. Because I feel like a lot of associates, you just go out there and you can start a firm right away. And I think it takes years to really understand.
You have no clue what you're doing. Legit.
Yeah.
Unless you've worked in a firm. I mean, my father is a lawyer. He's retired now, and I used to work in his firm. But still, when I started out and I was working for him, I had no idea what I was doing, because until you go to court, like if you're a litigator, right? Not everyone goes into litigation, but until you go to court and you actually carry out the rules of civil procedure and know exactly what that looks like, until you actually go in front of a judge and know what the procedural mechanisms are and what the responses are, the arguments are, it takes so much time to even just get your feet wet with that. So, I always say sometimes if you don't have a mentor, just go and do your best to become as competent as you can and learn and be a sponge and soak it up. And you can watch videos on YouTube in that area, like just try and really get as much information and research as possible. But I do think it's great to have that mentor. I had it in my dad, and you have it with your current boss. And, I do encourage the state bar and law schools to have more mentorship type programs for law students coming out. So you graduate law school about 1 year. What year around do you graduate law school?
2018, December 2018.
And do you take the bar exam right after graduating?
I did not.
Why?
I was a little bit burnt out.
And
I started clerking at a bankruptcy firm in Irvine.
Was everyone around you like, why are you not taking the bar in July? Like, why are you taking a break?
But I liked
giving you the bar guilt?
Yeah, they were.
So you take that July 18 off, and you take the bar in February.
The first time I took the bar was February 2020. So I was doing that for about a year.
So you took a long time off.
I did.
So the burnout, let's dig a little deeper into that if we may. Was the burnout from just all that information and the grinding and the studying and the transferring over? What was the main cause of the burnout?
Yeah, that was part of it. I also realized like I had spent almost all of my law school working at appeals and criminal law. And I was just like, appeals means I sit in front of my computer all day, every day, writing. And criminal law, I don't have the stomach for like I was working on, first degree murder cases and these really big cases in law school. And it just, when I graduated, I was like, I don't want to do criminal law. And so I think that it was realizing I don't know what I want to do. Let's clerk a little bit, see what we like, see what I like. And I don't really want to do just appeals, but that was what I had focused on.
You were working on appeals and criminal law, like through what? Like through an organization at school, or like an internship?
Right. So
how were you in those areas?
So my first year summer, I was an extern at the Court of Appeal in downtown Los Angeles. I did really well. I was number one in my class, first and second semester for legal research and writing.
Wow.
And
wow.
I loved it.
I remember you being a great writer. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I applied to be an extern at the Court of Appeal, and I got a position under Justice Cheney in downtown Los Angeles. And I spent that summer drafting opinions for appellate cases, which I thought was really fun. And there were maybe about 15 or 20 of us in that group.
And knowing how to do an appellate brief is great background to have. They take so much time.
They do.
But it's very rewarding once you have it done. And then you were also working in criminal law. So like where was the crossover? That was a different summer.
So the second summer, I was clerking at a criminal defense firm in downtown LA. And I was in their appellate division. I was working under, the partner was Kelly Quinn. And it was a pretty fancy criminal defense firm. Worksman, Jackson, and Quinn. I think he just defended like Harvey Weinstein, and like they have big clients. Yeah.
That's intense. Okay. So very good experience that you're getting. And then interestingly enough, you're like, okay, I need a break. And I think that that's so admirable that you did that. Okay. And then you're like, what happened? You're like, okay, I'm ready to take the bar exam. Actually, I want to ask you, were you hesitant to take the bar?
No, like, once I decided, I feel like once I decided it was time, then it was time.
So yes, Miss High Achieving, very intelligent, right? The bar exam and passing the bar exam is not really about your level of intelligence, is it? Because really, we're all pretty smart. So, okay, you graduate law school, you take this time off, you finally say, okay, I'm ready to take the bar exam. What did you do to prepare for that exam?
I signed up for an online course. I think it was Kaplan. I think I was doing Kaplan's bar prep course. But
what was that like? And do you remember how many months you gave yourself to prepare?
I think I started in November of 2019. Yeah, and they just, you sign up online, they send you all the materials, you watch the videos, you follow along. But I had a lot of difficulty just making it. Like, I couldn't connect it. I couldn't make it work. I don't really know how to explain it. It just wasn't flowing.
I think what a lot of applicants describe to me, and I had this experience as well, which is why big part of why I started CA Bar Style is I was always really top of my class, all that. I understood the law. The law came pretty natural to me in most subjects, not all. I had some subjects that I struggled with a little more than others, like contracts. I had to really sit with it and process. Now I can write a contract, litigate a contract. But before in law school, it was like another language to me. I had to really process it. But eventually I got it. When I went to commercial bar prep, I remember sitting in class or in one of the sessions, and I think it was evidence. There was so much law in one day. It was like 8 hours. And then I went home and I was like, how do I write an evidence essay? Like, for those of you that listening that may not have been exposed to a California bar exam evidence essay yet, it can have up to 4 prongs of admissibility. It's probably one of the heaviest tested areas and the most issue spawning that you would have to write about in a California bar exam topic. One pure evidence essay can have up to 45, 50 IRACs issues. So that's a lot of issues. And when you're just learning law, it can be really overwhelming and exhausting, but there's no strategy involved. So there's a lack of connectivity. Now, some applicants can get that connection just kind of naturally on their own just by doing repetition, let's say. But a lot do not. Was it the structure of the piece of the program, the amount of law, the strategy lacking, the lack of personalized kind of coaching that maybe you needed?
Lack of coaching stands out. It was like, here's the material, do it. And I think, that probably works for a lot of people, but that it didn't work for me. Like, okay, I'm going to read through this 50-page assignment on contract law and then just supposed to write an essay. And I'm like, I don't see how this connects to this.
Let's talk about that, because contracts is huge. And when you get to a contracts essay, it's very different than when you get to a negligence essay, because negligence are very clear issues for the most part, right? We have requisite negligence elements and then defenses, maybe some crossover there. Contracts is very illogical in a sense, and it's not very tangible. And you're going from the formation to the agreement to any potential breach in terms, and then the breach, and then the remedies. So you really got to know contracts quite well, but you also have to know the navigation of all the different types of formats of essays. And that just goes for the essay portion. So that is so common, what I experienced, what you're talking about. Now, when you were in that preparation and feeling like maybe this isn't jiving, was there a point where you're getting concerned?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment during prep where I felt like it. I didn't feel like that. I think from the start, I was like, oh, I'm not getting this. This isn't going well.
From the start.
From the start, I mean, when I first signed up, I was like, okay, let's do this prep, how to study. But then once I really, once I started reading the assignments and, going through the books, it was like, oh, this isn't going to go the way I want it to go. And I never really had a moment of getting this. I never felt very confident.
Why do you think, at that point, you didn't just go, okay, wait, I'm not ready or I'm not feeling good about this. I need to wait to take it.
I'm following the program. I know I'm not getting the scores I want, but maybe I'll get, subjects that I know. Maybe I'll just luck out. I might as well just see it through. That was my thought process. And it didn't even, I didn't even know that programs like yours existed. I thought all prep was like, you go Barber or Themis or Kaplan, and you get the books and you study and you take the bar.
And then that's it. Right. So you take that first time. Okay. Didn't go your way. How devastated were you on a scale 1 to 10, knowing that the prep didn't go well? But I think it still stings quite a bit.
It does still sting. I would say maybe like 7 max, maybe 6 even. Like I wasn't confident. Out of 10. Out of 10. It wasn't like it stung, but I wasn't expecting to pass that first time.
Yeah, also because you had been such a high achiever in law school, I'm sure you just knew, right, intuitively, like that didn't go so well. And we don't always know that. Some applicants, feel completely different and then they do it or not. It's just everyone's different. Okay. So then how did you decide to come to CA Bar Style? Do you remember how you even found us?
I was referred by one of your prior students.
You got referred as he was like a friend of yours from school?
He was at Western State my first year.
Okay. So you come into CA Bar Style. So what did you feel was different, if anything, obviously at this time, this preparation now, your second time taking it, and you took it right after, back to back?
Back to back, yes.
So was this an online format now because of COVID?
It was.
Okay, so let's talk about that because I don't know if you know, the California bar exam is highly going to be going remote perpetually for the long term, starting in 2025, probably not February, but likely by July 25. I love that we have this like kind of example of you took an in-person. What was the remote? Well, before we get to your remote experience, actually, the preparation was different, right? Because everything's on the computer. How did that go?
I actually loved it. Even though it wasn't in person, I still feel like I had the coaching. Where you were there for every step of it, telling us study this, study that, write your essay, get this in, and then I felt like the materials were so much better. You sent us the big book that you sent in the beginning, like the outlines of all the areas of law, and I wish when I moved back from LA, I had to downsize and I got rid of it, but it was just neon tabs, just hundreds of them in this book. I wish I still had it. Well, yeah. And like, I can still see the pages. Like I can see how to flow through contracts. I just feel like the materials were so much easier to follow.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. A big goal along the years is to minimize.
Mm-hmm.
I think that applicants have way too much stuff, way too much material, way too many outlines. The outlines are so long.
Right.
And there's so much repetition on how the law is tested, even in the nuance area of the multiple choice. And unfortunately, these bar prep programs, and I understand why they do it, they're trying to be really thorough, but the outlines are just so overwhelming. And you got to cut through all of that. You must focus on the relevancy of what comes up and then get into strategy of the how-to. And I remember working with you, and I remember every session you just being so on the ball and so focused. So I'd be like, Sarah, how are you feeling mentally? I'd be like, great. Do you need anything? No. You were just like, you were rocking and rolling through this process. And it was a perfect example of when magic happens in the course. Now, when you took the remote format, and of course the preparation, did you feel like the training prepared you well for that?
I did, because we trained that way. So I was ready for it, and I took the bar in October. It kept getting postponed, so I kept getting.
That was the first remote ever California bar exam. Yeah, October 2020.
So I felt really fortunate because I kept getting extra weeks or an extra couple months even.
That course never ended, by the way. I was like, I remember we just pushed it and pushed it. It was like, it felt It was literally, the bar was never going to
Yeah.
come. And for me, I actually was really happy about it. And I thought to myself, gosh, I wish more applicants had this opportunity to have this much time to
Yeah.
prepare, because it really did make a
Yeah.
difference. So you take this first ever remote exam. Did you take it from home? Do you
I took
remember?
it in my parents' home office.
And it went off without a glitch, like everything was
Yes.
smooth sailing. You felt, yeah. So for those listening that are worried about a remote format, here is proof. You can do it. You just take it from home and be confident that, right, you're not going to have technical issues or anything like that.
Oh, even more than that, someone who's taken it in person and remote is exponentially better.
Okay. So why did you feel that way?
Well, maybe because we prep that way, but also you do one of the essays and then you get like a 5 or 10 minute break and you can go get a glass of water. You can lay down. You can pet your dog. Like when you're in person, you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are like, look like they haven't slept in 3 months and everyone's nervous and strung out. But at home, it was like, I can go have a coffee and sit in my lounge chair in between these essays.
I love that. And I think that is feedback for those that are going to be worried about the remote format, because that's so true. I mean, the travel time to get there, the hotel stays, being around everybody that's so stressed out, and like then afterwards, the gossip that goes on about what did you write? What did you write? What did you pick? Like, and then you're even more stressed. So I actually think this remote format is going to go great, and we'll definitely prepare applicants for it. But I'm so happy that you had a good experience. And then what was waiting for results like?
I felt so confident after taking that bar that...
Okay, wait, I'll have to revel in this. Have to revel in it.
Yeah.
So go to the Kaplan and you're not feeling good. You go to bar style and we're like, feel good. Like this feels like I feel like I did well. Like, so in that experience of now taking the bar the second time, you felt really prepared.
I felt extremely prepared. I walked out of there feeling super confident. I just felt like, okay, I did it. I wasn't worried about it at all.
That's because you are a Model C bar style applicant, get to heart, who did the work, who stayed positive and got it done, and then obviously passed your second time. And I'm still so proud of you. I mean, you're just a pleasure to have in the program. Your energy is always so positive and so lovely. And obviously that must have felt amazing to get it done. And I'm so happy to be part of that journey with you. And so what have you been doing since?
I do think I'll stay in litigation. I didn't see myself here. And I'm just now getting to the point where I enjoy it.
3 years in? About 3-4 years in?
I'm 4 years in. I'm starting in my 4th year. Yeah, and kind of to go back to what we were talking about how does law school prepare you for practice? Like I'm starting to do things that I wish I had done sooner, becoming more involved with, the Riverside County Bar Association. They have this program called the New Attorney Academy. They were noticing that these new attorneys were coming into court and just had no clue what they were doing. Some lawyers and judges in Riverside started this program called the New Attorney Academy. Once a month, you take it's a full day and you meet with judges and lawyers, and they take you through the courts and kind of show you the process, like show you how all of this works. So I
love that.
I just started doing that.
So smart.
Our first full meeting is Friday. We had our orientation about a month ago. A couple months ago, I started volunteering at a probate clinic here in Riverside. So twice a month, I go to the courthouse downtown, and the courts will send people over. We'll have appointments through legal aid, and they come in and we help people through the probate process. And I'm the volunteer attorney for that clinic. And I think there's one thing I would want to tell people. It's like, get involved and like do things like that. Go to barristers' happy hours. Like, just try and be involved.
Network. It's such a big part of it, because if you're just sitting at home, I remember one of my biggest mentors, Jed Wider, is an attorney I worked for when I worked in New York. And he said to me once, I said, Jed, you're so good at getting clients. Like, he's one of the main partners in this big firm. And I said, how do you do it? He goes, I'm always out. My business card is given to everybody. If there's an opportunity to go to the smallest mixer, the biggest event, the smallest event, I go and I talk to people. And I think as new attorneys, definitely, I know for me, I'm going on year 16 now, but like I was so shy. I'm still am at times. Like you go somewhere new, but just push yourself out of your comfort zone more and more. And like what you're doing, which is so amazing, getting that hands-on experience, going into like different networking options and really making it a learning curve, because as a lawyer, you never are at your threshold for learning, meaning there's always room for growth, constant room for growth. You can be practicing 25 years and then get the case of a lifetime and have to, step it up 10 notches. So there's always room for growth. Keep it, moving and keep growing. And Sara, it has been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Your story is one of, there's a calmness about you. And I think that your clarity and, just really knowing what you want out of your life and taking that break after law school and then going into the bar and it didn't work out the first time. And I know that could be, pretty gut wrenching, but just keep moving and keep going through the process and keep learning, right? Because really the lesson is there's always room for growth. And, you're just a model lawyer now, right? Now you're not an applicant anymore. Thanks for coming on Law Life and definitely sharing your journey. It is inspirational and I'm excited to see what you're going to do in the future. So please keep us posted.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me and congratulations again on 15 years.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully we'll be doing this at year 30. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Oh, that'll be a lot of gray hair. I don't know if my colorist can color all that.
Yeah, thank you for all that you do for the applicants and that you did for me. I really felt so confident walking out there.
You're so welcome. That gives me chills again. And that really inspires me to keep going and keep doing it. So thanks, Sara, so much. And have a beautiful rest of your day. I'll speak to you soon. Have a great one. Again, for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to Law Life, a podcast about navigating law, life, and everything in between with host Shana Karpeles. Thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for episode updates. For more information on the show or preparing for the California bar exam, you can visit us on YouTube at CA Bar Style.